So you're here today because you've just gone through such an intensive interview process. You've put your best foot forward, you prepared for your interviews, and now you've finally received the call to say you've got the job. Well, congratulations. It's absolutely exciting time for you. But before you get caught up in all the excitement and really rushing to just sign that contract, there are key things that I want you to be aware of before you sign your contract. And these key things are really just tips and things that you need to be looking out for in your contract and questions that you should be asking yourself before you say yes to the role. So in this video, stick with me as I go through 10 very important tips that are really going to help you ask the right questions and ask yourself the right questions before you say yes to the role. Hey guys, my name is Bohlali Baile. I'm a young talent specialist and I use this platform to share all the tips and tricks around how you can get corporate ready. In this video, like I said, I'm sharing 10 very important tips and questions that you should be asking yourself before you sign on that dotted line. And before I get into the video, if this is the type of content that you know is so important for you in helping you elevate in your corporate career, make sure to smash that subscribe button, the like button, and the notification bell so that every time I post a video, you're never missing out. So the first thing that's so important before you resign at your current job or before you take on any new contract, something that you should be going through as a first point of call is ensuring that as you go through that contract, firstly, you once again are going through the details of the job and the core responsibilities and ensuring that you go through some of the key elements of the contract that really speak through some of the HR policies and procedures that are important for you. Now, it's important for you to go through this detail because as you accept a job, you must remember that you are accepting a set of policies and procedures that are adhered to by the company. If there's anything in the contract that speaks to any HR policies or procedures that you don't understand, make sure that you're able to pick up a phone, call your HR person or the recruiter, and make sure to ask the relevant questions. It is completely in your right to be able to interrogate or ask questions so that you have clarity as to what it is you are signing into. And as you go through your contract, make sure that you go through, once again, the details of the role, checking who it is exactly that you're reporting into and what the key responsibilities are, and make sure that that all makes sense to you in terms of what was communicated to you during the interview and what it is that you know the role to be. And if there's any discrepancies within this, make sure to pick up the phone and ask. The next thing that you need to be asking yourself in relation to the role is really just once again questioning, does this role still fit into my career goals, right? Is this role taking me to where it is I see myself in the next 2 to 3 years? And am I going to be able to build the necessary skills to get myself there? It's always important for you to be thinking about this because you don't want to waste 2 to 3 years in a role that's just there because you need a job, but it's really not adding to who you are as a person and the capabilities that you have. It's also important as you go through this point to really ask yourself, is this role going to fully utilize what my core strengths are? Am I going to feel completely engaged in this kind of work? And does it drive the type of meaning that I want out of a role, right? These things are important because the more that you sit in a role that doesn't fully utilize your core strengths and the core capabilities that you have, you will find that increasingly with time, you do get frustrated with the role because you're always going against the grain of who you actually are. So make sure that as you interrogate the role itself, in checking whether it's within your career goals and whether it's going to add skills to you. But remember to always think about, are the skills that I already have and the strengths that I have really going to add value to the role that I'm in? Because that's what's going to keep you motivated as you go through your role. The third key thing that's important for you to be asking yourself is, did I like the people that I interacted with? Did I enjoy the culture? Did I enjoy the office environment of the place that I'm going to? It's incredibly important for you to be honest with yourself when it comes to things like this, because the most frustrating thing will be for you to be in an environment where you really don't gel with the people that you're supposed to be working with, or maybe you did have an interview with your boss at some stage in your interview process, and it's not someone that you think you could get along with. Maybe the way in which they manage is not the kind of way that you'd like to be managed. If you overlook this particular point, guys, every single time that you are going to the office to work with people that you don't really gel with and people that you don't feel are going to really help you in your career and that you can add value to, once again, this is something that's going to be increasingly difficult for you on a daily basis, right? So always ask yourself and be aware as you go through your interview process. Are the people that I'm meeting aligned with who I am? Do I get a sense of who they are? And do I feel like these are the kinds of people that I'd like to work with? Are they nice people? And so you need to follow your gut when it comes to something like this, because this, once again, is something that can either make or break your experience as you join your new role. Fourth question you should be asking yourself: will this work energize me, right? Will this work excite me? It's so important, guys, and I know it's not always possible to be getting jobs that you know are going to fully excite you, but there's such a magic in being able to be in the type of role that really allows you to be your full self, right? Something that excites you. If you're in projects kind of role, you need to be excited by projects. If you're in the kind of work that is very long-term and requires a certain level of stamina and thinking and analyzing, that kind of work needs to excite you, right? Because the more excited you are about what you do, the easier it is for you to get up in the morning, make sure that you are there, make sure that you are giving your best self as well to the work that you do. And so make sure that as you think through all the different elements of the role, ask yourself, does the job excite me? Am I excited to go into this kind of industry? Am I excited about the work I'll be required to do? Because that's always important. The fifth point that I think is important for you to always be considering is going through some of the basic details that are in there, right? We're going to talk salary, we're going to talk benefits and leave as well, right? So make sure that you're going through your annual salary, understanding whether you get paid annually, on a monthly basis, on a per hour basis. A lot of corporates, if you are taken on full time, you are paid on an annual basis. Understand what that actually means. What does it mean on a monthly basis? How much money am I actually going to be getting? But also remember that out of your salary is going to come out your benefits. It's going to come out tax, right? So make sure that you look through the benefits that the company is giving to their employees. Are they giving you life insurance? Are they giving you medical aid, right? Do you have UIF? These are the key important things that most companies should be providing to their employees. So depending on whether you're on a fixed term contract or you are permanently employed with the company, some of these benefits apply and some don't, right? Always remember that out of your salary, tax and your benefits are going to come out of that, right? So never get too excited by looking at the annual salary and dividing it by 12 and thinking that's what's coming into your pocket, because that's not what's going to come into your pocket, right? There's still tax that's going to be deducted from that. And also there are benefits that companies give to their employees to really actually help them in terms of just saving towards medical insurance, medical aid, making sure that you are saving towards your life insurance as well. There's also UIF that you pay for. And there's also definitely provident fund or a pension fund that you're going to pay for as you go into a company full time. Those are all benefits that are going to come out of your salary at some stage. And a lot of times companies actually subsidize some of this as well. So always make sure that you've gone through that thoroughly and you actually understand what it is that the company offers from a benefit perspective. Ensure that you know what that's actually going to look like on a monthly basis. One thing that you can do, a quick tip, is really just get your HR person or the recruiter that sent you the contract, ask them for a dummy payslip, right? What a dummy payslip is going to do is that it's going to allow you to see what the actual calculation is going to look like. So you're going to see what your monthly salary is. They're going to deduct the tax. They're also going to maybe add in a very basic medical aid and some of the benefits. And then you're going to be able to see what your net salary is. Your net salary is what you're actually going to get at the end of the month. Then ask yourself, once you've seen this, is this something that I can live with? Is this something that's going to cover my expenses? It's going to allow me to do savings? It's going to allow me to still have some level of disposable income and wiggle room? Those are questions you need to ask yourself as you look at what it is that they're paying you. If the pay is not up to scratch for you and is not something that you can actually live with, then you can either go through a salary negotiation process, which I'll do a video for a bit later, or you just decide that this job is not going to work for me, right? It helps if you do have one or two jobs that are kind of going at the same time, and you can then benchmark based on what other places are willing to pay you, which role is going to be the best for you. But one point to note, don't ever pick a job just based on the salary. Listen to all the questions I've said before and the questions that are still coming. All of those put together are very important for you to make note of. So make sure that as you go through your contract, you've gone through your salary, your benefits, and that you also understand how many leave days you're getting per annum, right? How many leave days are you able to take within a given cycle? If you are studying, ask yourself, Do they provide study leave? Am I able to take additional leave for studying? And also just understand how many sick days they give you within, generally sick days, they give it to you over a 3-year cycle. So they'll maybe say 33 days of sick leave over a 3-year period. So ask those questions, because it should be stipulated in your contract, but if it's not there, make sure that you're asking that as well. The next thing that I think is important for you to think about is, could you get the same opportunities in the current role that you're in, right? And I say this because you need to ask yourself every time you leave your job, are you leaving the job because there aren't any opportunities for you to further progress in your current role? Or are you leaving because you want additional salary and you want a bump up in your salary? Because when you are in a particular role and you've spent time building the necessary relationships, you spend time building your profile within the company, people know you, people trust you, you're in a space where you can actually leverage off of what you've already built for yourself and get to that next level and elevate to the next level, right? And it makes it that much easier for you if you're able to have the right conversations in the company that you're in to determine for yourself whether the things that you are leaving for, am I able to still gain that in the company that I'm in? What this is going to do is that it's really just going to eliminate a lot of the relationship building and building rapport process that you have to start going into a new job. And it's still going to allow you to gain the necessary skills that you actually leaving the company to go and gain elsewhere, right? So always ask yourself that, because I do think it's important that you leverage off of whatever you've already built in the current company that you're in, and make sure that you've tested that first. And if that unfortunately is not something you can do, then it makes sense to make the move. 7th point that I think is always important to ask yourself, are you running towards the job, or are you running away from where you currently are, right? So make sure that you ask yourself this question, because every time you move jobs, you really need to be in a space personally where you are looking forward to doing something different. You are looking forward to starting a different element of your career and making sure that you are going into the next space feeling positive, feeling enthusiastic, right? A lot of people, if they move into jobs because they're running away from where they currently are and there's something they don't like, or they don't like their boss, or they've been through a very difficult time and now they just want to get out at all costs, you don't actually realize that you're not thinking clearly through the steps that you need to take. What is this role that you are going into? Is this going to serve me? Am I going to be able to add value to it? You don't think straight if you're running away from something, right? And never run away from problems that you are facing in your corporate career, right? Make sure that anytime you leave any company, you've tried your ultimate best to deal with any issues that you are facing in the actual company. Learn from your mistakes. Learn from all the different challenges that you go through in your current company, so that as you decide to leave, you're really leaving with a clear conscience, and you're leaving knowing that you're fully excited about what your future has to hold, and not because you just can't wait to get out of where you currently are. So always ask yourself that, and be honest with yourself as you answer this question, because if it is that you're running away, ask yourself as well, what are the key things that I should be learning from what it is I'm running away from? And how can I then use that in the next career that I go into to really build on my skill set and to really start adding more value to the next role that I'm going to? Guys, if you're enjoying this content, please make sure that you comment below and let me know, what is the key thing that you look for in company culture? What is it, that thing that really helps you decide whether this is the kind of company I want to be in? Is it the people? Is it the environment? Is it the location? What are some of those things? Let me know in the comments below. Straight on to number 8, ask yourself, does this role give me an opportunity to grow, and does it give me variety in my role, right? So make sure that as you go into a particular role, hopefully you've asked this question during the interview process. You've actually interrogated, what is the role? What are the opportunities for growth? Because this is going to be important, and this is really going to tell whether this is the kind of role that you're going to spend quite a bit of time in or not. So make sure that you've asked yourself, are there opportunities for me to grow in this particular career? And also, is there variety? Is there an opportunity for me to learn more than one or two things? Because one thing you don't want to do, guys, is to be stuck in a role where you're doing the same repetitive role over and over and over again. And also on top of that, there's no space for you to actually go into the next level, right? I know you're going to feel frustrated. You're going to feel like you're not learning. You're going to feel like you're not being challenged the way that you should be. And I know a lot of us thrive on really feeling like we're developing in the roles that we are in. And if you don't, and you're someone that's really comfortable doing the same thing over and over, don't get comfortable with that. I think if you're a young professional, you need to be really wanting to learn and grow as much as possible. Never get to a point where you're comfortable in your role, comfortable doing exactly the same thing over and over again. Always pause, ask yourself, am I still growing? Am I still learning? Where are the opportunities to grow? And make sure that you can ask this. But before you sign on that dotted line, make sure you've asked yourself of this question. And hopefully this is the type of information you've already received from your interviews. Next thing to be asking yourself, once you realize how much it is that they're going to be paying you and all the different benefits, ask yourself, is what I'm getting worth what's required of me, right? I know it sounds like a silly question, but I think it's always important for you to be weighing up what's required of you. So many of us want to run to the next big role that's going to give us an increase in salary, that's going to give us increased perks. But a lot of times we actually don't realize that the more that these things increase, the more is expected of you, right? And so you really need to be asking yourself and questioning whether, is my lifestyle still going to be accommodated in the role that I'm about to go into, right? If you're someone that's used to having most of your evenings to yourself, being able to really book out some time and have dinner with friends, have particular weekends off in the current role that you're in, ask yourself before you go into the next role, does the next role and what they require of me, does that fit within my lifestyle, right? Is that something that I feel like I can do this? Have you tested out the hours? How many hours are you expected to work, right? What is the expectation of you? With a higher title and more pay and more perks, a lot more is expected of you. So never forget to weigh out what the expectation of you is with how much you're willing to put in and whether that's something that's comfortable for you. And make sure that you are honest with yourself around, I'm happy to work those hours. I'm happy to work on particular weekends. I'm happy to be on call. Ask yourself that question and be honest with yourself, because you don't want to find yourself in a role that you are excited to get all the perks, but now the role is really stretching you in ways that you're not used to being stretched. You're used to having your weekends, you're used to having some of your evenings, and now they expect you to work on evenings. They expect you to be on call first thing in the morning. They're calling you and asking you to do something. You need to be able to be comfortable with that, and you need to have rationalized all of this before you start. And last but not least, I think it's so important in this day and age. So many people have side hustles, have different things that they are doing outside of their actual corporate work. Make sure that you've also just tested out with the company whether this is going to be an issue or not, right? So make sure that you've gone through the process of conflict of interest. Really ask the company whether this is going to be an issue for you or not. A lot of companies do ask you to disclose what else it is that you are doing, whether you are a director on any other company that you are running, and what does that mean for this particular company. Certain companies do require you to leave some of those things and focus on the work that you're in and the organization that you work for. Make sure you've tested this out before you jump in, right? So make sure that you have asked the question around conflict of interest and how all of these elements work, and if there's anything that you need to be disclosing ahead of the time that you sign your contract. I hope that didn't take out all the excitement. I hope that really just gave you so many different elements to think about, because I do think it's important for you to be thinking about this whole thing holistically before you sign on that dotted line. And if you've checked all of these things and you are happy and comfortable, go ahead and sign your offer, and wishing you absolutely everything of the best in your career role. Make sure that you stay in tune to this channel, because I will be sharing a lot of tips around how to really ace your first couple of days at work, how to stand out, why communication is important, and so many different elements that have to do with transitioning into a corporate environment or transitioning into a new role. I hope you've really enjoyed that. Thank you so much for staying with me, and looking forward to sharing more tips with you on how you can get corporate ready.